Ukrainian drones struck one of Russia's largest oil refineries overnight into Sunday, according to both Ukraine's military and Russian officials. The attack is the latest in a series of Ukrainian strikes targeting Russian oil infrastructure in recent weeks, which Kyiv says fuels the Kremlin's invasion. The Kyiv refinery in Russia's northwestern Leningrad region is one of the country's top 3 refineries by output. The facility, operated by Surgutneftegas, produces close to 18 million metric tons of crude per year. Ukraine's military says their strikes caused explosions and set a portion of the facility on fire. Russian officials say they downed over 80 Ukrainian drones, 3 of them above the facility, and say the fire was caused by the falling debris. Moscow did not detail the extent of the damage, but noted that no civilians were injured or killed in the attacks. At least 25 people were arrested by police after assaulting officers in Saturday's Unite the Kingdom march in London, which was organized by the far-right activist Tommy Robinson. Metropolitan Assistant Police Commissioner Matt Twist said many more will also be apprehended following what he called unacceptable violence. At least 26 officers were injured by Robinson supporters, 4 of them critically, as they clashed with a rival protest in central London. They attempted to break police barricades to assault participants of the March Against Fascism rally. 1 police officer suffered broken teeth in the skirmishes, while another suffered a concussion. British Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood condemned the violence, asserting that all who participated in this criminal activity will face the full force of the law. Robinson's protest drew up to 150,000 people to object to what they call a migrant crisis and the erasing and replacing of British culture. Robinson, who's known for his extremist and nationalist views, says the march was a mere exercising of the people's right to free speech. The deceased body of a 52-year-old man was retrieved from underneath a pile of rubble after an explosion rocked the Spanish capital Madrid. Authorities suspect the explosion, which happened on Saturday, was caused by a gas leak but are still investigating the causes. More than 24 people were injured according to Madrid's Emergency Services Office, with at least 2 having sustained critical wounds. Firefighting units announced that at least 4 survivors were also pulled out in the early hours of Sunday. Local officials say technicians have been deployed to the scene to carry out an extensive assessment of the affected building in the blast zone. They say the building suffered severe damage on the ground and first floors, and experts are assessing whether or not it should be demolished for public safety. Madrid's deputy mayor Inma Sanz also noted that 9 nearby residences have been temporarily evacuated. Sanz says they will remain outside of their homes for at least a few days due to unsafe living conditions.
Palestinian Oscar-winning director Basil Adras said Israeli soldiers conducted a raid at his home in the occupied West Bank on Saturday. They had asked Adras' wife for his whereabouts and searched her phone, the Palestinian director said, adding that his 9-month-old daughter had been home during the time of the raid. Adras said that he had been at the hospital with family members who were injured when Israeli settlers attacked his village moments earlier when he found out that the soldiers had stormed his home. The West Bank, East Jerusalem and Gaza have been under Israeli military occupation since 1967. Since then, Israel has built well over 100 settlements that are home to more than 500,000 Israeli settlers. Palestinians seek all 3 to be part of an independent Palestinian state and view the continued expansion of illegal Israeli settlements as a major obstacle to a 2-state solution. The Israeli occupation of Palestinian territories is illegal under international law.
Nepal has sworn its first woman Prime Minister, Sushila Karki, on an interim basis as calm returns following a week of deadly protests. Her appointment follows the collapse of the previous government, which was brought down after deadly mass protests took place in the capital, Kathmandu. The unrest sparked by a social media ban was fueled by anger over corruption and left 51 people dead. A general election has now been set for the 5th of March next year. The new Prime Minister is a popular former Chief Justice and is known for a strong anti-corruption stance.
Five U.S. fighter jets landed at the former Roosevelt Roads base in Ceiba, Puerto Rico on Saturday, amid escalating tensions between the U.S. and Venezuela. The deployment comes as part of a ramping up of U.S. military presence in the Caribbean, which U.S. President Donald Trump says is aimed at fighting drug trafficking. Meanwhile, on Saturday, Venezuelan Foreign Minister Iván Gil said a U.S. warship intercepted and occupied a Venezuelan fishing boat, which he said was sailing in Venezuelan waters. Caracas says it was an attempt to justify an escalation of war in the Caribbean. Also on Saturday, Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro called for a massive military training day. Thousands of militiamen took part in maneuvers organized on the Plan Independencia 200 in response to Washington's actions, according to Maduro. The U.S. currently has 8 warships and a nuclear-powered submarine off Venezuela's coast.
The final stage of the Spanish Vuelta cycling race was abandoned on Sunday after pro-Palestine demonstrations repeatedly interrupted proceedings. Protesters knocked down barricades and occupied the roads at several points across the course. Clashes erupted between protesters and the more than 1,500 police officers deployed to secure the event. The protests forced riders to disembark their bikes ahead of a mostly ceremonial ride into the capital, Madrid. Speaking at an event in Andalusia prior to the final stage taking place, Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez weighed in on the matter and expressed his support for the protesters. The Spanish premier was heard saying, quote, "Our admiration and respect should be with the people who mobilize for just causes like that of Palestine and Gaza." Protesters say they took to the streets to oppose the participation of an Israeli team at the event, while a genocide perpetrated by their government unfolds in Gaza. They demanded an immediate end to the assault on the enclave, which according to the latest figures, has claimed the lives of just under 65,000 people. Protesters are also demanding an increase in the flow of aid and medical supplies to the Strip to alleviate the horrid humanitarian crisis. The protests come as the Israeli army launched a fresh offensive on Gaza City, which seeks to occupy the city. Danish cyclist Jonas Vingegaard of the Jumbo-Visma team, who was leading by over a minute, was crowned champion of the event.
British boxing legend Ricky Hatton has been found dead at his home in Hyde, Greater Manchester. Greater Manchester police said that his death is not being treated as suspicious. The 46-year-old former light welterweight and welterweight world champion was one of the most popular boxers in British history. The news comes 2 months after he announced he would make a return to boxing in December.
The 15-year-old Owen Cooper became the youngest male actor to win an Emmy Award for his performance in Adolescence, a show that brought home a total of 8 Emmys. It was not the only record-winning moment at the 77th edition of the Emmy Awards on Sunday. The studio made Emmy history with its 13 wins. The series came into the evening having won 9 Emmys already during last weekend's Creative Arts ceremony. On Sunday night, it added 4 more, which all went to Seth Rogen. And The Pit took the top drama prize, beating Severance, with Noah Weil claiming his first Emmy for lead actor. The evening also brought wins for Jean Smart, winning her 4th Emmy for Best Actress in a Comedy for Hacks and 7th Emmy overall, as well as Stephen Colbert, who took home an award for the first time for Best Talk Show.
This 90-year-old modernist building in Brussels, which once housed the Citroën garage and car showroom, is being renovated to become the Belgian's capital's first museum of contemporary and modern art, scheduled to open in November 2026. After the federal government refused to make available its collection from that period, the Canal Foundation turned to international partners, eventually signing a 5-year contract with France's Pompidou Center.
Depuis 2018, la Fondation Canal, que je dirige, crée une collection publique d'art contemporain ici à Bruxelles, qui n'existait pas jusqu'à aujourd'hui. Mais on s'est dit, pour pouvoir lancer ce projet, il serait bien d'avoir un partenaire international, pas belgo-belge, parce que ça n'a pas marché avec le Musée royal des Beaux-Arts. Et donc, après de multiples contacts et rencontres et de multiples discussions, c'est avec le Centre Pompidou que nous avons décidé de faire ce partenariat.
As well as showing works from the Parisian institution along with its own collection, the museum aims to be an arts and cultural hub and stage music, dance and theatre performances. But there is also the so-called external project to promote social cohesion in nearby neighborhoods with considerable socio-cultural diversity and pockets of poverty.
C'est pas simplement créer un lieu et ouvrir les portes et dire « venez », c'est aussi tout un travail que les équipes mènent depuis maintenant plus de 8 ans, de travail dans les écoles, dans les associations de quartier, au contact des jeunes, des communautés autour de nous, à Molenbeek, à Laken, dans le quartier nord, pour répondre aux besoins, mais aussi pour co-créer ou co-construire des projets, artistiques ou pas.
Half of the 40,000 square meter facility was set aside for people to enjoy amenities, ranging from restaurants, a children's playground and a library.
In the first quarter of 2026, the cultural program will be unveiled. Around 120 years of cultural creation will be made available in the exhibition area, and many more activities will be disclosed. Isabel Marques da Silva, Euronews, Brussels.